Me.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 25th edition of Sports on Sunset. I'm James Jericho.
I'm Jeremy Paul.
Okay, now, yes, he did in fact do the circumference of, okay. Look, here's the deal, guys. Last week in sports was rather unique. When the steroid scandal first broke, maybe during the Olympics with, not the one with Carl Lewis, but the Canadian sprinter, whose name I'm forgetting right now. Thank you, Ben Johnson. And steroids became prevalent. It became prevalent in a variety of sports. One of the things that people said back then was, you know, there's going to be a time where a whole bunch of athletes are going to get lumped in here without a scintilla of blame. I mean, without a scintilla of proof. And we are all going to assume that they did it. That was last week. Last week we have had at least two internationally known athletes get called out, one by a federally funded agency for steroid abuse, and yet not one scintilla of proof yet has been offered. Now, maybe they did it.
Maybe they did.
I'm not saying that they did, but at this moment, the United States anti-doping agency has not presented any proof against Lance Armstrong. They just called him guilty. And an ESPN program, which I have never liked, First Take, former newspaper reporter Skip Bayless went against every journalistic ethical rule and basically insinuated very strongly that New York Yankees shortstop Derek Jeter is on human growth hormone. Yeah. I'm not a Yankees fan. Cycling, I have no interest in whatsoever. But I do have an interest in fair play. You gotta look out.
Yeah.
So with that said, however, I might be wrong. Hey Jeremy, do you believe that either Derek Jeter or Lance Armstrong broke the rules to win?
Here's the thing. With baseball, it has to be, one person isn't going to do it. One person is not going to lead you to victory.
What about Barry Bonds with the Giants?
Yeah, he didn't lead them to victory. That was a lot of people. How many strikeouts did he have that year? He had more strikeouts, like I think 4 times as many strikeouts as homers. He was not leading them to victory. He was striking out or walking, and then he hit 73 home runs.
That makes up for a lot of games.
Yeah, 73 home runs in 162 games. I don't care how many home runs he hits, he's not leading them to victory every game. Now, Lance Armstrong, what I found hilarious was that even if they took away all 7 titles, right?
Right.
What I remember, the number 2 guy was also on steroids. The dude that was in 2nd place. He also got busted for steroids. So can you give it to the 2nd place guy? Who was clean in cycling? Apparently nobody. Everyone's on drugs in cycling.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Everyone. So if you take the titles away, then you have to eliminate all the competitors. Armstrong famously had cancer. Lost a ball.
Testicular cancer.
Yeah, he lost a ball to cancer. A piece of Jerry Brown.
Gonna bring him up too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they were probably going to put him on some sort of steroid testosterone anyway to replace what he had already lost.
I need to give some background information here. What Jeremy is referencing is a mutual friend of ours, a comedian who also had testicular cancer. I did text him during the course of the week after we decided on this topic. It is possible that you could go on steroids as part of your recovery from testicular cancer.
Right.
He, our mutual friend, however, did not go on a steroid program. It's possible that Lance Armstrong, however, did. Also, before you continue, just to give you some background information, Armstrong, because of the USADA decision, they have disqualified him. He's barred from cycling for life, which he doesn't really care about now being 50. He loses 7 Tour de France titles. There have been claims about steroid abuse for Lance Armstrong since August the 1st, 1998. U.S. ADA Chief Executive Travis Tigard has said he was confident, quote, that the truth would be revealed in an arbitration hearing, which now will not happen. There were claims of blood doping and steroid use, EPO, blood transfusions, cortisone injections, and HGH. However, although Armstrong said, "I will not fight this anymore," there is a possibility for more legal action. The International Cycling Union wants an explanation from the US ADA. So it's not done yet. So with that said, please continue.
Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing about that. He's not saying, I'm done, I give up. He's saying, I'm done fighting you people. It's the same thing. It gets to a point where he's not gaining anything from defending himself. He's been defending himself for the better part of, what, 10 years now?
Yeah.
Like
Actually, way longer than that.
How long do you have to defend yourself before you get tired of saying, you know what, these people won't stop. They want me to keep losing money and spending money that I've earned doing Tour de France on this case, and I'm done. I'm keeping my money.
Also, Armstrong has never tested positive despite 500 steroid exams, including some that were done without prior notice. We never had a chance on certain ones to get himself straight. At what point would you be personally satisfied with an accusation that somebody was on steroids?
At what point?
Yeah.
When, all right, here's the other thing. I've made several accusations on this very show of certain boxers or you know, we got Pacquiao or Evander Holyfield or, you know, other people that had kidney transplants because they couldn't stop doing steroids. I'm not saying that, you know, Alonzo Mourning was doing steroids. I'm saying he might be doing anti-inflammatories steroids. But, you know, there's been plenty of athletes that have had to pay the price physically because of steroid abuse.
True.
So that'd be the point where there's a line.
Is it as simple as saying you failed a test, or can somebody go all the way up to not failing a test and you're not satisfied with an accusation?
I'd be satisfied if
because for me it was Barry Bonds going from a muscular guy to this.
Well, for me, where I've started accusing people now, the reason I started accusing people mainly Pacquiao, because
we're not innocent. We're not saying that.
No, yeah. Pacquiao went from being a featherweight to a middleweight, sort of. He went up 5 weight classes and started beating people for like the better part of 8 years. You don't do that. You don't. I don't care how he was a shitty featherweight. He was horrible at it. He kept losing. And suddenly he's beating everybody that's in a higher weight class. Get the fuck out. Steroids. So you had Evander Holyfield did pretty much the same thing, light heavyweight to heavyweight. Suddenly he's fighting Tyson. Come on. Yeah, steroids. So, and the coup de grace of steroid abuse, I'm not saying that Carl Lewis was right. No, but yeah, he was right. Fuck, the top 3 dudes from Jamaica won the 200, you know, first, second, and third. 2 of them would have broke the original, the Michael Johnson world record, which was ridiculous. One guy ran, Bolt ran 1941, the other dude ran 1944, which is impossible, unless they're doing this. I'm sorry, that's... So
are the standards different in terms of accepting without proof? In other words, for example, in baseball, I gave the example of Barry Bonds going from muscular and built to being, you know. Are the standards different by sport, by the visual test, or even possibly by race? Because we all love Lance Armstrong. You know, there's no proof yet, but maybe we've been looking the other way. You tell me. We love Lance Armstrong, we hated Barry Bonds.
Who's the most feared linebacker in history? Well, 2 of the most feared linebackers in history.
Well, Butkus would be one. Nitschke, Singletary. Technically, Kevin Green was defensive end, but he was linebacker. Lawrence Taylor was probably the greatest ever. There's arguments for all of them.
Which one tested positive for steroids?
Well, I'm assuming your question is going to lead me back to Lawrence Taylor.
Yes. Lawrence Taylor was the most feared linebacker of the 80s into the 90s. And he was blood crazy. It's just crazy. He was doped up to the gills. That's why he was feared and faster than everybody. But he was also a physical specimen. I think the 80s ushered in the steroid era to football. Plain and simple. Because since then, everyone's gotten more athletic. Everyone's gotten faster. Everybody's gotten stronger.
Are you basically pinning virtually all of this on Lawrence Taylor just kind of being the Rosetta Stone to...
Yes. Like, without Lawrence, people saw what Lawrence Taylor was doing, and they wanted the same thing on their team. That's why people got bigger. That's why you had 6'7" linemen just try to stop this guy, and they couldn't because they were too slow, so they had to get faster.
So are you? But again, is it possible by race or by sport? Because
no,
again,
it's by sport.
Okay, by sport.
It's by sport. All right, there was a time.
In other words, the standards for me to believe Barry Bonds is on roids is different than the standard for me to believe Lance Armstrong.
Yes.
The standard to believe Manny Pacquiao. The standard, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Okay.
Like there was a time in basketball, right? I want to say between 96 or 98, between 98 and 2006, where people.
By the way, what about Derek Jeter?
Derek
Jeter
Jeter?
on roids.
No, I don't believe he's on HGH.
Okay, please continue with your other point.
There was a time, and that's been a time, 96 to 2006, where basketball players that were like skinny, with tone, would show up every summer with 15 pounds of muscle. That's what they would say, the magic number. He's put on 15 pounds of muscle.
Kobe did 1 year too.
Yeah, a lot of people put on 15 pounds of muscle. I'm not saying basketball was dirty in steroids, but basketball steroid testing is abysmal. Like, who was the last person to test positive for steroids in basketball? I think it was Ruben Bunte, some shit like that. When he played for, didn't he play for the Lakers? There was an African dude that played for the Lakers at the same time Shaq was playing. He tested positive.
I thought you were referencing Boutros Ghali, but that's me. If a cop's by the way, the accusers also have their own agendas. We mentioned the USADA.
Yeah.
That is an agency. It's not a federal agency per se, but it's an agency that receives almost all of its funding from the federal government. They need to justify their existence.
They're trying to legitimize, yeah.
Which is probably one of their own agendas without a scintilla of proof. Notice nothing they've said is, we have proof. Look, it goes like this. Due process. Let's say in a hypothetical, I've committed a crime. You're a police officer, you arrest me. What do? You fill out a report. Let's say it's armed robbery. I saw James in a liquor store with a gun pointing at this guy. I arrested him. You in turn that report over to your supervisors. Your supervisors turn it over to the press. Everybody has a case. Let's say it goes to trial. The prosecuting attorney has to turn over everything they have over to the defense team in order to have a fair trial. None of that has happened here. None of it. And that also includes even less with the accusation of Derek Jeter on human growth hormone by Skip Bayless. Now Skip is trying to backtrack allegedly by saying, he admitted that he had no proof, but he's basically claiming, well, I wonder. That's not fair. Okay? You have to you have to wonder how he is doing this. He only has 12 home runs. I mean, I'm not a Yankee fan. He goes, I'm not talking about recovery, I'm talking about father time. Well, I'm talking about evidence.
Nobody said anything about Cal Ripken, did he?
Yeah, he said, and he ended it up with this beauty. I'm not accusing him of using performance-enhancing drugs. I'm not insinuating. Yes, you are. How can you not spend 20 minutes in 2 days talking about Derek Jeter and how he's putting on these things without using PED and not insinuate it? That's a logical impossibility.
Cal Ripken played how many games in a row? And nobody cares. Just ask whether or not he was on HGH.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And I hate having to defend a guy in a sport that I don't like. And I hate having to defend a Yankee. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Well, anyway, with that said, why don't you tell them what's on your mind, brother?
Okay, what's on my mind is it's fantasy football time. Fantasy football, everybody. Fantasy football. Now, there's a million dudes right now putting together their teams, figuring out who they're going to draft first, who they're going to draft second, you know, on down the line. And, well, I'm in a fantasy league. I gotta pay $25 to be in this league every year. I've not come anywhere near first in the 6 years that I've been in this fantasy football league. In fact, I finished dead last every year. Dead last every year. Let me tell you my history of fantasy football. My first year, I'll give you the last 3 years. The last 3 years, not counting this year. Last year, I drafted Cam Newton in the 12th round of our draft. Didn't play him the first week, didn't play him the second week, played him the third week, then traded him to a friend of mine because, you know, he had an off week. I finished dead last. The year before, oh, by the way, that friend who got Cam Newton won the championship. The year before, I drafted Michael Vick in the 15th round of our draft. Kevin Cobb was the starter. I didn't know that. So I released Kevin Cobb. I released Michael Vick before the first game. Kevin Cobb got hurt in the first half. Michael Vick starts the rest of the year. And somebody else swooped him up on free agency. Won the league. Yeah. The year before that, I drafted the Bears defense. Drafted the Bears defense. Only to have Urlacher go out for the year with a dislocated wrist. The Bears defense didn't give me shit. And I finished dead last.
So why do you do this again?
I do this because I need money and I love football. This is my only betting style of football. With fantasy football, you have to know things. Now, I'll make great draft picks, but I end up releasing these great draft picks. And they're picking up people like, what's the guy from the Giants that I'll be drafting this year? Ramsey Barton. He will be my 3rd overall pick. I'm pretty sure he's going to have a great year. I'm pretty sure I'll draft him in the 3rd round and then release him sometime before the 4th week. What I'm trying to say here is this, people.
Join his league.
Join my league. Draft everybody that I draft and release. And you will win your league.
Guys, I was not a huge Olympics guy. I didn't hate it, didn't really watch it. But I will say this. I was taken back by U.S. Olympian Nick Simmons, who came back. His event is the 800 meters. He came back, ran a mile on the good old US of A, ran it in 5 minutes and 19 seconds. Not that impressive until you realize he slammed 4 beers along the way.
What?
Yeah. It's called the beer mile. You start off the race by killing a can of beer, do a lap, another can, and so on.
Okay.
All right. Simmons is 28. He was 5th in the 800 in the Olympics. His time was 10 minutes shy of the world record set by Canadian Jim Finlayson. The beer mile, 5:19 with 48 ounces of beer in you. There's a moral to this story, and the moral is fuck Gatorade. Look, you're telling me you're drinking all of this green salt water and you can barely crack a 4-minute mile? Is that the point? When you can just pound beers and be just 1 minute behind? Seriously? I mean, by the way, the only reason this guy didn't break the record in the beer mile, I saw the tape. He turned around twice. This is an example of the inferior coaching of the United States. All you need from a coach to do it in the beer mile is say, turn around. Dude, you've got to maintain. You've got to maintain that way. I actually now want to advocate more alcoholism in the Olympics. I want to see if these drunks can carry the torch around Olympic Stadium for one.
The gin high jump.
The gin high jump. But I will say this. There's another reason why I think this guy didn't break the record. You drank Coors. No wonder.
Really?
Yeah.
Silver bullet.
Choose the right beer. Coors sucks.
Come on.
Try some Sam Adams for Pete's sake.
Milwaukee's best.
We should be dominating the beer mile. Do you think the Germans are going to be able to compete pounding 4 Lowenbrows? Hell to the no. How does a Canadian pound 4 Molsons and cross in less than 7 is beyond me. That record was in your hands, kid. Train harder. I mean, besides that, the window of opportunity for the United States in the beer mile is closing. You only know it's going to be a matter of time before the Japanese come up with some sort of a blend of Asahi and electrolytes. Yeah. So again, drop Gatorade, add Sam Adams, and compete for the good old stars and bars.
He's the LL Cool J. Eat Cool J cookies.